Good afternoon and welcome to Creating Customers Who Know, Like, Trust and Promote You as well. My name's Dante St James. We're going to have a bit of fun today and go through those things you can do in general that are going to help you to become so much more effective when you're trying to promote yourself online. It's a bit of an overcast day, so I've got the ring light on today and a brand new webcam. So please do bear with me in case things do go a little bit wild. It's a bit of a guinea pig test today, so hopefully it won't go horribly wrong on you. Let's share the screen and get underway. I'm going to start off with the golden rule of marketing. They won't buy you until they trust you. They won't trust you until they like you. And they won't like you until they know you. This is a bit of a golden rule. I don't know who it was attributed to first, but it's been one of those things that's been very commonly said in marketing since, well before I got involved in marketing. It's one of those, Madison Avenue, Mad Men kind of things, but also a little bit of common sense. Why would someone buy from you if they don't trust you? Why would they trust you if they don't even like you? And why would they like you if they didn't even know you in the first place? This is brought to you by Business Station and the Digital Solutions Program, part of the Australian government's initiative called the Australian Small Business Advisory Services. This will be recorded and put onto YouTube under both Business Stations and my own Dante St James accounts. You can catch up with them a little bit later on there. In a couple of days' time, it'll appear in my account. Usually, same day, you'll see it on the Business Station account as well. Just look for my name or Business Station, and you'll be able to see them there. So what we're going to look at is a bit of a background to this golden rule, and then run through a bunch of ways that will help you to work out how to get known, how to be likable, and how to be trustworthy so that people will promote you themselves. You won't have to pay them to promote you. They'll actually do it for you. A little bit of background about myself. My own business is ClickStarter, DanteStJames.com, an upcoming training program, and Cellular One, my mobile phone and NBN reseller business. My studies have been at University of New South Wales, University of Western Sydney, the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Words not coming easy. Didn't get much sleep last night. Also TAFE New South Wales, and I'm certified in everything from LinkedIn through many Facebook things to Google, and as well being an advisor here on the Digital Solutions Program, and an entrepreneurship facilitator with my new startup called Startup Territory, which is helping small businesses to get the training they need to get themselves off the ground and started the best possible way in business that they can. So a background on the golden rule of marketing. It's something which face-to-face salespeople have known this for decades. But it's something which we digital people, we digital marketers, small business owners, we just don't tend to get it. We don't tend to understand quite what this thing is. We think we've got this idea of how to market. We think we have this idea of how to connect with people, but we don't quite get it right. And our friends in traditional sales land have known it for decades that you have to have some kind of relationship with the customer, particularly if you're selling a big ticket item, something that's over that $100 mark, hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, online coaching services, anything that requires trust. And the relationship is built, as you know, from being in relationships yourselves, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, partners. It happens over time. It happens through familiarity, and it happens with consistency. Over time, you get a chance to know someone. Through familiarity, you get to trust them. With consistency, you have doubled that trust. It means that people can understand that you're going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. So when it comes to taking time, it gets your customer a chance to really get to know you. And that gives them a chance to like you, and also a chance to feel familiar with you. When people feel familiar with you, they feel like they can trust you. When they feel like they can trust you, they will do many things with you, including buying your products, booking your services, and not necessarily being in that position where they go, who is this person? Why are they trying to sell me something? I don't even know who they are. I don't even like them. They're starting to actually irritate me to the point where I don't like them at all. So how does that come about? Familiarity is so important because familiarity breeds trust, not content, but it breeds trust. It allows for a human understanding between yourself and the customer you're trying to reach. So whether your customer happens to be someone who is a little bit edgy, not really trustworthy, this is the way you gain their trust, by becoming familiar with them. And familiarity can't be there unless they basically know who you are and have some kind of idea of who you are. And that takes a little bit of time. You are not going to sell that $28,000 product to them today. It's going to take some time. People have to think before they spend $28,000, even $3,000. Remember, there's a lot of things that $3,000 might have been earmarked for someone to spend money on other than your online coaching. It also allows others to recommend you. So if somebody feels familiar with you, they are far more likely to recommend you, not just for the trust factor, but because they know you. They feel like they go, actually, I know what this person does, and I can sincerely and honestly recommend them to someone because I know what it is they do and I know who they are. I feel familiar with them. And while recommendations do take a lot of trust, at the core of it, they come from the fact that you know that person. Oh, I know a guy. Oh, yeah, I know a woman who does that. All that kind of recommendation comes from familiarity. And the third point in there is consistency. Nothing builds trust like consistency. If you make your promises and you deliver on them again and again and again, it helps people to feel safe dealing with you. It helps people to feel comfortable dealing with you. It makes their outcomes feel predictable and it mitigates risk. You tend to go with companies that you know and like and trust because you figure that they're going to deliver because they've delivered to you before, or they've delivered for people you know before, or they've done something that's allowed you to feel safe. And that's where trust comes from. Trust comes from a place of safety, and buying comes from a place of trust. When we feel safe, we feel like our outcomes are predictable. We feel like if anything goes wrong, and thankfully, and hopefully it won't, if anything does go wrong, then we're in a position to be able to be supported, protected, and there's justice in what we're doing. And that includes in retail purchasing and in consumer-oriented activities like buying and selling. The trouble with small business is, though, that we're all in a rush to get there because we just need to make money because we need to put food on the table. We need to grow everything we're doing. So what we tend to do is get a little bit rushy, panic. We put in the buy now, shop now, do it now. I've got my sales funnel working, do it now. I can't wait for this. I need it to happen today. And we get really disappointed when it doesn't. We advertise for a month on Facebook, asking people to download our ebook now after they don't even know who you are. But you're trying to get them to know you through an ebook, but they have no idea who you are. Why would I download your ebook when I have no idea who you are? You haven't spent any time getting to know me. You haven't done anything to make me aware of you apart from this one ad that I saw once upon a time that says download my ebook. So why would someone want to buy now? That's what we keep making a mistake of. We keep trying to push people into a purchase that they're nowhere near ready for because they don't know who you are. They don't know whether they like you or not, and they certainly don't trust you because we go back to the beginning. They don't know you. They have no idea who you are. You're a brand new person in a brand new way that they haven't dealt with before. So how do we overcome that? Well, first, we've got to get past our expectations. And our expectations are locked in what we've heard on the radio and what we've seen on TV, and to a lesser degree, what we've seen on Facebook and Google as well. We want to advertise like Harvey Norman, because if they can do it, why can't we do it? Harvey Norman plays a numbers game. They will spend tens of millions of dollars every year on advertising to reach people with a basic core message that when you want to buy furniture, bedding, electricals, or computer equipment, you go to Harvey Norman. It's the place to go. It's a trustworthy place to go. But what we want to do is play that numbers game as well, put our message out as generally and as far and wide as we possibly can, in the hope that somebody's going to see that message and go, yes, I'm going to click on the buy now button. Trouble with that is we want to do it on a $10 boost button. We wanted to spend $20, $50, maybe $100 to make that happen. The issue with all that is that it's not rooted in reality. Reality says that it takes tens of millions of dollars for Harvey Norman to do that across multiple channels, radio, television, catalogs in newspapers, print advertising, backs of buses, everywhere you go, signage on the street, real estate on main thoroughfares, so you cannot miss where Harvey Norman is. You drive past it every single day. You don't have access to the numbers they do. They have managed to buy themselves a position in the market through hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly $1 billion in advertising since they've been around, just to get to the position where they can yell and scream and talk about the sale they have every weekend. It seems no different to the sale last weekend, but it gets us going into their stores. Now, you don't realistically have the money that they do. Doesn't mean you can't operate, doesn't mean you can't advertise. It just means you have to approach your advertising in a way that's more appropriate to what the size and the scale of your business is. You can't be Harvey Norman unless you've got their millions and their storefronts and their staff and their marketing team and the Go Harvey Norman jingle and all the 30 to 40 years of brand value they've built up. I personally can't stand them. I don't shop with them because they have actually advertised so heavily to me that I don't believe a word of what they're saying. I don't understand how they can sell a television for half the price this weekend of what they sold it for last weekend, unless they artificially jacked up the price. I don't know if that's what they do, but they have a buying filter and funnel that works because they've got lots of money and lots of buying power and all the reasons why large companies and retailers are in such a dominant position. There is a different way for you to be able to do what you need to do. Your scale is much smaller. Your money is much tighter. So you need a different way of approaching it. And it involves you building your brand online. Now, Harvey Norman's done that. Myers done that. Target, Kmart, Woolworths, Coles, Bunnings, you name the store. They've done all this brand work to make sure that people understand who they are. So how can you do that too? How can you build a brand that people can know and then like and then trust enough to buy from you? You have to do that pattern. You have to get them to know you first, because they won't buy from you unless they trust you. They won't trust you unless they like you, and they won't like you unless they know you. So you've got to start from the beginning. You cannot skip these steps. You have to start from getting people to know you. We call that awareness in a sales funnel. And as it moves down through that sales funnel, they start to like you, they start to trust you, then they're ready to purchase from you. So how do you get known online? How do you get people to know you, to recognize you in the street, to wave out the car windows, or at least just to recognize your face when they see it come up on a live video on Facebook? How do you get that recognition? That recognition comes from really, really just truly understanding who your customer is, understanding that your customer is this person or that person, or they're the customer who happens to buy this particular kind of thing or have this particular kind of problem. They are a 38-year-old woman living in the suburbs of Perth who really needs to solve a specific problem, or they are a 25 to 29-year-old woman who lives in the southern suburbs of Brisbane who really has this specific thing she's trying to achieve. How well do you know who that person is? Now, I'm not just saying that if you're selling skincare products that your target is all women, because not all women use skincare. Funnily enough, a lot of men do too. What you're looking for is someone who is your perfect customer, who has the money to spend that you want to charge them. They have the desire to fix their skin. They have the desire to look more beautiful. They have the desire to bring in something new into their skincare regime. Because you will know as well as I do that most women have a skincare regime of their own right now. If they have one, they've already got one. They've got a brand they know, their brand they trust. They go to the chemist, they go to Woolworths, and they pick it off a shelf. They have their way of moisturizing or cleansing, toning, and moisturizing, or whatever their regime happens to be. They've already got their routine for that. So you're asking that person to put that aside, everything you've ever done, all the research you've ever done, all the trust you have in those brands already, and you're going to come over and do my thing, buy my skincare regime, my serum, my moisturizer, my cleanser, and my brush that helps to remove and exfoliate the skin. So how do I do that? Well, you've first got to start off with knowing who that customer is and knowing what gets their attention, knowing the things that they really want to solve. Is it because they've got bad skin, or is it because they've got good skin that they want to keep? They're two very different audiences. One's repairing, one's maintaining. Who is your customer? Oh, I want both. It's not, you can't afford to go for both. You can't afford to go for all women. You can't afford to go for women who want skincare, because there is literally tens of thousands of people selling skincare regimes right now. I know a guy in Alice Springs that's selling it, 2 people in Darwin who are selling it, let alone all the people in the East Coast, on the West Coast, and in other countries who have got their own skincare products. It's a jungle out there. There are so many claims being made, so many ingredients. Some are organic, some have got caffeine, some of them have no artificial ingredients, and some of them, well, you wouldn't know what they are because they all basically come out of a factory in China. So how do you set yours apart? You set it fast, first of all, by understanding who the customer is so they know what they're going to get is going to be suitable for them. Then the next part of building a brand is all about you. It's all about you, my friend, making it known that you're an expert at what you do. And how do you do that? Well, you need to do it in a variety of ways. You have to tell people, you have to get out there, you have to talk about skincare, you have to talk about herbal tea, you have to talk about exercise physiology, you have to talk about whatever it is you're an expert in and the thing that you're trying to sell. There is no point trying to sell a skincare regime if you can't get out there and say, I'm an expert at this because. Now, you don't have to have a lab coat, you don't have to be a scientist, but what you can be is a woman or a man who has used skincare products. And you go, I made this because it works for me. And the greatest power of persuasion is in testimony. To share a story that is all about what you are selling. So make it known that you are the expert in the room. Don't be afraid to be the expert in the room. In fact, you have to be the expert in the room, because unless you can afford influencers and spokespersons and spokesmodels, you're the person that's going to have to talk about this. You'll have to get on those live videos. You'll have to take the photos. You'll have to talk about your story behind the reason why you did this thing. Why did you create this product or this service? Now, you might think, oh, but I'm a private person. I don't want to make it about me. Too bad. Too bad. If you want to build a brand, you need to do the work of the brand. And sometimes that means you have to stick your head in front of a laptop computer, turn on the camera, and start talking to people. It's the only way I could make it. I don't have the prettiest head in the world. I know that, but it doesn't matter, because the information I've got to present is of such value and of such need for a small business that it overrides my insecurities about who I am and what I look like. What I've got to say far outweighs my insecurities about what I look like on a camera. And you'll get to that point too. Make it known that you're the expert. That's why you created it. Now you need to create the right kind of content. Getting known online is producing content that reaches out to people. You do not need to have 20,000 people following you. That is a cheap and easy way of getting it. You can buy followers, you can buy attention, you can trick people into being attention, you can clickbait, you can get on there and start stripping down into the skimpiest outfits you can. You can spend years in the gym developing the perfect body just so you can hold that product in front of you and go, hey, you want to buy this drink? You need this drink because I'm hot and I got hot because of this drink. You don't have to necessarily do that. Content can be any kind. It can be text. That's probably the best place to start, with a blog or buy a TikTok account. TikTok accounts don't have to be all beautiful people. Yes, a lot of them are, but most of them are not. The most followed ones, yeah, they're probably really good looking. So what? You don't need everybody because you can't serve everybody. So produce the content for that previous point, knowing who your customer really is, creating the content that fits them. What are they interested in? Write about it. What are the questions that they're asking? Write about that. What are the things that they are concerned about in this world? That's what you talk about in the video. You connect through your customer by creating the content that gets their attention, and then somehow link it back to what you do. So if they're afraid of the future and you're a counselor, there's your link. If they are afraid of the future and you are selling makeup, connect that through to how you are committed to ecological sustainability, not using chemicals and using organic ingredients that don't harm the earth. Then find the link. You'll find the things that they are interested in, the things that they care about, and then you can produce things that match that to get their attention and to get to know who you are. Otherwise, you won't get their attention at all. Another way to get attention is to have something that value to give away for free, something that you can provide to them that gives them a feeling of, oh, that's for me. Great. They'll remember who you are. Not because you gave away something for free, but you gave away something of value that they can action straight away. Ebooks, videos, access to a coaching platform, access to an exclusive Facebook group that only people who've connected with you can do that. So how do we do that? We have something of value to give away for free. So we create something that's going to work, that is of value to them, something that's going to give them action that they can take forward and do. It's going to make their lives better. It's going to make their lives more meaningful, or it's going to help them in their survival, in their comfort, or in helping others who they love. Those are the three kind of core values that you need to try and get. Is it going to help them get richer? Is it help them to get more comfortable? Is it going to help them survive? And it's going to help them to take care of the people they love? Then offer that. It could be advice, it could be an ebook, it can be a video, it can be any of those things. But make sure you have something of value to give them for free, so that they'll become aware of you, because you're solving a problem for them without asking for any money. Now, you don't have to give them everything. Ultimately, you want to give them that stuff because you want to encourage them to share the word. You want them to share that around. Look at this person that gave me this free thing. This could help you as well. Now, there's going to be tons and tons of tire kickers who are just going around looking for the free stuff. They were never going to buy from you in the first place. But there's people who look at that stuff not as a free thing. They look at it as a dip a toe in the water. And they dip the toe in the water with the free thing for you, and they go, this woman, she really knows what she's talking about. This guy, he really knows what he's talking about. And then they'll decide to go that next step to whatever your offer is that brings them down. But first of all, they had to get to know you, and then got to know you through that free offer, that free sample. Another way to get known is to connect with influencers. Influencers can expand your reach by hundreds and thousands of percentage points, because you only have so many people you're connected to. They're connected to many, many more. So do you know an influencer? Do you know someone in your sphere of influence who does this, has a big account that you can put your product in their hands, and they can then make that product known to so many more people around the world? Well, use those connections. There's no use having them and not using them. If you've got a friend who's an influencer, ask them if they can use you, because if you use them, because they've already got the audience. They probably like to have more products, and it makes them look good when they've got free products to look at and share and say, hey, look, I got this product from this company, and it makes me really, really happy, because I love to use this stuff every day. And before you know it, you've got 30,000 people who are suddenly very interested in your product or service. So influencers can help you reach far, far more people. Now, how to get known online? Create a blog and promote it. The very basic thing to do on the internet is to create content that's written that people can read and share. And the reason why that becomes something that helps you get known is because written content is still the primary way that people find things on Google. Someone searches in a problem they've got, chances are they're going to come up with a blog post or an article or a content page on a website that answers that question for them. Wouldn't it be great if you got to be the person who answered that question? I've got a couple of questions that you can ask on Google that are default go to my website. They provide a featured snippet of content that goes to my website. That's fantastic. I get so much traffic because of that. I get way more traffic than a digital marketing agency should ever get. That's because I provide a very niche answer to a very niche problem that worldwide actually is a problem about 1,200 people a week have, because they're all asking me about it. Now, can I fix it for them straight away? Does it lead to a sale? No. What it does lead to is awareness. Now that people are now searching for me specifically as a brand, not me, my business ClickStarter. So most of the searches are either for the name ClickStarter. Now, I'm the only majorly working ClickStarter in the world. There's one in Britain that used to operate. I think there's one in Denmark that used to operate as well. There's one in Hong Kong, which is not really operating at all. So when they're looking for ClickStarter, they're generally looking for me, and those searches are in the thousands every week. How did that happen? Because I created a blog that connects to the problems that people have, answer those questions. So next time they want to go and look for an answer, they may look for me instead of looking for it on Google. You can also get known by interviewing experts in your industry. How do you get known? By featuring them, because you're the person who brought them in. You're the person, if someone is following a particularly famous person or someone who's got a great following and you interview them, they will follow all sorts of content that follows that particular person. If you're a Tom Holland fan from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, then it doesn't matter who's talking to him, who's interviewing, where he appears, you will look for every piece of Tom Holland content that you possibly can, even starting up your own TikTok account, because there's so much Tom Holland on TikTok or on Instagram Reels. So you'll follow it wherever they will be. Fans of that person will follow them to your content, and your content will get much more viewed, and you'll become much more known because of your association with them in that interview. You can also get known online by becoming a guest on other people's blogs and other people's podcasts. You could be the guest who's being interviewed. Now, that's happened a number of times. I've been on probably about 15 different podcasts. I've probably been interviewed in maybe 3 or 4 different blogs, and that's really helped because they link back to my website. They link back to my materials, and my name, my company name, is both shared throughout those things to an audience that otherwise wouldn't have known who I was. That's really helpful. That's really helping me on SEO searches on Google. And it's also helping me to be recognized so that more people search directly for my name, or more people search directly for my business name than they're searching necessarily for what it is I do. For example, midway through an interview on a podcast, they could be listening to me and I answer a question and I mention my business name. So they can sit there and go, oh, I'll look that up. And then they come to my website where they get to know my logo, get to know what it is I do, the way I write and the way I present things and the products that I sell. That's a person that never knew about me before. That's how you get known. Another way you can get known online is to create other kinds of contents to be known for. So you don't have to be stuck on just writing written stuff on it doesn't have to be just written stuff on a blog, for instance. You don't have to write an article. It could be a video. It could be an audio file. It could be video. It could be photos. It could be infographics. It could be any kind of content that's digital that you want to produce. Anything that people can have and share and then pass around. People will share also memes. Memes are a great way to help you get known. If you're associated somehow with that meme, if it's a photo of you, if it's associated with your company or came originally from your particular page on Facebook, that's really, really helpful. That helps you to become so much more known for what you would be if nobody ever created or came across that content from you in the first place. You don't necessarily have to be a good writer, good speaker, good talker, good person on camera. You might have a head for radio. There's going to be a format that works for you that helps you to get known. A step towards someone buying from you is also about being likable, getting people to like you. Remember that there are 3 steps to getting someone to buy from you. First, they need to know you, then they need to like you, and then they need to trust you. So this section is all about how to be more likable, how to help people to like you. And it's not by throwing money at them. It's usually some other way. The likability, or rapport, as I like to call it, is formed by being authentic and being a little vulnerable. One of the reasons why our best friends are our best friends is we know everything about them. We know when they're being inauthentic. We know when they're being fake because we know who they really are. We know who they really are because we've known them for a long time. We have a special insight into their character that they only really show us. They are vulnerable to us and we are vulnerable to them. We make ourselves vulnerable to have that connection. So in this case, you will be vulnerable to complete strangers. Now, what is vulnerability? Vulnerability is not about baring your neck to someone and saying, here, come and stab me. It's not about walking in front of a car and saying, I am vulnerable, please run me over. It's nothing that dramatic. Vulnerability is simply about sharing something about yourself that doesn't necessarily put you in the best light. It's not putting on a show of how good you are. It's putting on a show how normal you are, how regular you are, how relatable you are, and how much of a human being you are. Are you a human being or are you just a robot? People relate better to humans than they do to robots. So when you're vulnerable, it means about perhaps sharing a story about how once upon a time you were a failure, now you're a success. Maybe it's something about how this is something I still struggle with to this day. I still struggle to spell the word inevitable. Sometimes I even struggle to say the word inevitable. Having a bit of fun and laughing about yourself, being self-effacing in your humor about yourself and highlighting your shortcomings in a jovial, happy and humorous way is also vulnerability. It's showing that you're not perfect. We tend to prefer people personally to have a relationship with them who are not perfect. People who have the perfect Instagram, we don't really want to know that person because we know how high maintenance she or he is going to be, and they will not be a good friend. So what we do, we stay away from them. We don't want to be anywhere near them because they're not the kind of person we think has authenticity or has any kind of real, true vulnerability about them. We can't know them because they're too perfect. Therefore, there's no vulnerability and we'll never connect to them. Next up, being real. That's a little bit different to authenticity and vulnerability. Being real is about not putting on a show. It's about not putting up a wall in front of ourselves that says, this is perfect me. I put on a different voice when I'm on a podcast because I want to seem really, really fancy. I want to seem really, really intellectual in some way, and putting on words that people don't understand to try and feel a little bit more superior than what I really am. That I am the king of all podcasting, and no one really cares. What they want to care about is knowing that you care about them and the information you have to bring across to them that has a real world application to their world. So being real is about being a human, about being you, not pretending to be someone else. If you start putting on fancy voices and accents, and if you start putting on this idea that you're some kind of expert guru, high flyer with a Lamborghini and a private jet, when you clearly don't have any of those things, you're not being real, you're not being relatable. They're not going to know you. They're certainly not going to move on to liking and trusting you because you seem too fake. Everything's a little bit too perfect. It's all a little bit like, I don't think she's who she's saying she is. I don't think he is anything like he appears to be. In fact, I think he's a bit of a tosser. Well, then that's probably true. You're putting across a persona that says, I'm not real. And that gives no one a reason to connect with you. Next up, being nice helps. Being that nice person who reacts in a good way to people, who invites people to engage, who invites people to talk, who invites people to shake hands and wants to talk to people because he or she is genuinely interested in other people, or you're just someone who, when they're going down, you can help them back up again. If they're asking a question for support, you can offer some encouraging words. If they message you in an inbox on LinkedIn, then you can answer that question to the best of your ability without making them feel like a fool. Putting people down, talking about people behind their back, being nasty, being too aggressive, all those things don't make you approachable. And the idea of a personal brand is feeling like you could approach that person. It's the kind of person, the kind of guy you can go and have a beer with and have a laugh and you'd feel comfortable with him. Or the kind of woman that you feel like you can go and have coffee and have the most intimate, wonderful conversation with and walk away feeling refreshed and revived. Nice people do that. Nasty people don't. Now, some of us who really like nasty people, we love the Alex Joneses of the world. We love the right-wing commentators on the right-wing talkback radio. We like listening to all the rubbish that goes on in Sky News. We like to be able to follow people like Joe Rogan and think their aggressive, take no prisoners attitude to life is telling it how it is. And yeah, he really says it the way it is. But we wouldn't want to be friends with that person because they're too dominant and they're too dominating. They don't really invite you to have a conversation because all they want to do is say their thing. They want to shut you down just so they can say those things. Being nice doesn't make you finish last. Being nice brings people to you. So you've got a fighting chance to have them become your customer. Another way you get to be more likable is inviting conversation, inviting people to talk to you. I kind of mentioned this just earlier, having room for the conversation, not sitting there and waiting for them to shut up so you can say your bit. This is all about going, here's my opinion, but I'm open-minded. I might be wrong. Has anyone got another opinion they could tell me about? And inviting that kind of rational discussion makes you, yes, more approachable and yes, a bit nicer, but it means that other people get to share their voice. And you get other people to share their voice, you get a diversity of opinion, a diversity of points of view, and you get to go, wow, never really thought of it that way. That's such a great idea. And when you get new ideas coming from new directions, wow, you get world-beating ideas. If Larry and Sergey from Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, hadn't have listened to a certain computer scientist in Sydney here in Australia about how to invite maps into the Google search algorithm, they would not have Google Maps today, but they hadn't listened because they were seeking conversation and ideas from other people. In fact, companies like Google actually write 20% of the time that employees spend is spent on special projects that they want to work on that they think are a great idea. They present them to their line manager who goes, holy crap, this is a great idea. I'm taking this up the line all the way to the top. And they go, this is now a product we're supporting. Congratulations. Here's your massive bonus for that work you did. Well done. And that sort of thing invites innovation, new ideas, new thinking, new products, and more ways for people to connect. So inviting conversation allows people to share their ideas with you as well. Being relevant is one of those ways to be very likable, because if you're trying to present something that has no relevance to someone, watch their eyes go down. I remember trying to talk to my dad about what it is I do for a job and just watching how his eyes glaze over and he kind of loses interest because it's not relevant to the world he lives in or the world he's come from. It's a very much, my world is very different to their world. So I talk too much about my world to them, it becomes irrelevant, and rather than being nasty and saying, mate, I don't care, this is really out of my league, I don't understand what you're saying, they go, oh, yes, dear, and politely nod their head while their eyes glaze over. I'm used to it with my kind of work. You might see this with your family as well, or even with friends who don't understand why you're going to be a business owner. You're trying to preach onto them about all these things you go through as a business owner, all these challenges. They're like, why don't you just get a job? You won't have these challenges in the future. So being relevant is all about the ability to be able to speak to people in the world they're in with references that they understand and something that they can apply to their life and be able to go, oh, I get that. Yes, I've got something similar. And then they're able to relate to you. That's what being relevant means. Don't walk into someone's life and try to introduce a product that they don't need, don't want, and will never use. You bring them something that they can use, that something can apply to their life. And that comes back to my very first point of getting known, is the ability to be able to really, really, really know who your customer is and understand who they are and what it is they want and what they care about most of all. Being likable is also about being visible. You've got to be visible. Having a black blob of, or what we call the grey blob on LinkedIn, or the grey blob on Facebook, where you won't show your name, but you'll show your children's faces. You won't show your face, but you'll show your dog. You won't show your face, but you'll show a sunset. I don't know. I don't really connect. I like sunsets, I like dogs, and kids are all right, but I don't want to connect with them. I don't have any desire to connect with kids because I don't like kids that much. I don't have a desire to connect with the sunset because I can go out any night of the week and watch a sunset here in Darwin. It doesn't make a difference to me. Being visible is about being likable because someone can see you, they can see that smile, they can see your eyes, and they go, oh, you're a real person. I feel like I can relate to you now. People don't relate to a logo. People don't relate to a photo of a sunset or a photo of your child or your dog. You've got to put your photo out there. If you want to be liked, in order to be trusted, you have to show people what you look like. I know that kind of goes and like, oh, my privacy, my private life. You're a business owner now. You don't get to hide behind logos and ideals like that. You're now stepping into the world where you are the brand. You are the person who's going to be recognized, who's going to carry that across. And before anyone's going to look at a logo or your clever business name, they're going to first want to know who that person is, because you are a small business. We know Jerry Harvey is behind Harvey Norman. Dick Smith, once upon a time, was behind Dick Smith Electronics. We know that Brene Brown is her own brand. She's not trying to sell anyone else. Oprah is the face of her brand. The biggest personal brands in the world have to have a face. And yes, it doesn't have to be pretty. Mine is not the prettiest face on the planet, and yours might not be either. And that's okay, because even though I've got this face, even though I've got this beard that's graying and this balding and I've got a pot belly, I'm still able to connect with people because they feel like I'm real. And that makes it feel so much easier for them to approach. If I came across some guru with a perfect, little pencil beard and lots of chains and Gucci and Ferrucci and I don't know, all the brands, and I've got this like painted on hair and I'm in front of a Learjet, and I'm not then likable because no one can relate to that. No one lives that life. And most of us probably don't want to live that life either. Have a face. It's probably the easiest thing. Have a face. I know it feels like you're putting yourself out there and that's risky. And that's part of the game of having a small business. If you want to be trusted, you have to show your face. You don't walk into a meeting to meet up with a potential client with a paper bag over your head. So don't treat your online clients and online fans like that either. Take the paper bag off your head and start relating to people as a real live human being. And if you want to be more likable, you've got to approach social media a little bit differently too. You can't just go, buy my stuff, 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 buy my stuff. It just doesn't cut through to anyone because it's the same message over and over and over. And if they wanted to buy your stuff, they'll buy your stuff. Remember, they need to know you, like you, before they will trust you to buy. So approach social media as 95% relationship building and 5% sales. Make 95% of your posts on social media about the person you're trying to sell to, not about the product you're trying to sell. Add in the product later. Insert it into their lives. Watch the conversations that people have with you on social media, whether it's like private message or through content that they send you, or through comments, or the things they're saying, or ratings and reviews. All those things give you so many sign markers that go, this is what I need to do more of. So talk more, answer comments, encourage conversation, do all those things that make you someone to have a relationship with, not just someone to buy something from. Because ultimately, your customer is trying to solve a problem in their life, and you're trying to solve that problem for them. Be generous. But people who hold everything back are the kind of people that no one wants to deal with. No one wants to deal with a tight ass. Everyone wants to deal with a person who is generous with their time and their attention and their listening skills and their ability to be able to give advice. People are not wanting to connect to someone who never wants to talk to them, never wants to answer their questions, never wants to acknowledge that they even exist. Honestly, LinkedIn is a great place for this, because you can start to see who the people are who are tossers and just basically want to broadcast like a radio show, and those people who really want to communicate. You go into any one of these and you say, you might have 20 people have commented on something. The really good ones, they'll respond to every single one of those comments because they're small enough to be able to do it. When you've got hundreds and thousands of those, well, then it's not possible to do it. And you're now at a bigger stage where, you're posting on LinkedIn is probably not what's going to win you your next $1 million contract. It's starting off with the ability to do that. And once it scales out, you might have a team of people who are out there constantly answering those messages, answering those comments, because you never quite know. In one of those comments, someone could be asking, where do I buy this? And if no one answers it, then they will not buy this. But if you've got your team or yourself watching those comments, saying, when they're coming through, seeing what those notifications are like coming through on your phone, to understand that there is a potential to sell there, then be generous with your time. And when you do that, show a bit of social proof. You might be someone who just got 1,000 likes. I just got 201 followers on my YouTube channel. It's not earth shattering. It's not huge, but to me, it's a big deal because I started with nothing. I started with no subscribers whatsoever. And now after I've been working on it since probably November last year, just organically been just building up. Now I've got 201 and I feel like that's okay. I'm not trying to grow up to tens of thousands, because simply my message is designed for Australian small businesses, not for the world. So once I get enough people coming in, but in that, I might only have 201 subscribers to my YouTube channel, but I've got 5,500 views of my material every single month. So something's going on there. And I'll tell you now that out of those 201 people who have become subscribers, 36 of them have become clients. It is my most successful, highest hit rate channel for converting people who are viewing my material to becoming someone who's an actual customer. But I had to reliably and consistently produce stuff. And by showing that and going, hey, congratulations to me, I reached 201 people, I feel good about that. It's not going to set the world on fire. I'm certainly no Kardashian. But at the same time, I don't need to be a Kardashian. 201 followers for me is a phenomenal outcome for a lot of hard work, because those 201 followers interact with me and 36 of them have become clients. At first, we look at what makes people know you. Secondly, when it comes to those golden rules of sales, we get people to like you. At this stage, we look at how to build trust with your audience, how to get people to trust you. Now, in the real world, there's ways we get people to trust you. And most of those kind of things repeat over into the online world as well. One of the first things we do is we give away at least some of our best stuff. To get someone to trust you means sometimes getting them to take a dip their toe in the water to see if it suits them. And it means giving away something. It might be free access to your first course. It might be free access to your special collection of podcasts. It might be a free ebook, as we mentioned earlier on in similar sections of content like this. Just giving someone something of value that they can use straight away helps them to trust in you with a little bit for low stakes. There's no great big risk for them to try this out. And they go, oh yeah, that was actually a really good idea. That worked. They may then come back to you then and go, I need to grow this faster and bigger. What can you help me do? And that's where the money is for you. So giving away some of your intellectual property is a great idea, because let's face it, there's pretty much nothing that you do that can't be Googled. That they can't Google for themselves and find out how to do that themselves. So this whole thing, holding back all your content and all your ideas because someone's going to steal them, somebody probably already has. Someone's probably already done all that stuff. Almost all the great ideas that become digital businesses have already been done. It's just now a matter of people differentiating on brand, people differentiating on the kind of product, the kind of quality, and those kind of things to convince people to come across and buy from them instead of the person they're already buying from. Second way, don't break your promises. Oh, this one hurts because I've done it before. I've broken promises to clients. I've broken promises to followers that I was going to do something and I didn't get to it because I got too busy and it got too hard. Look, don't make promises unless you're going to be able to keep them. So you make strategic promises. You make the promises that you know you can deliver on. You know that I'm going to deliver you a piece of content every single week that's going to make it be useful towards your business. And then you make 2 pieces of content a week. That's great. You've overpromised and you've underpromised and over delivered. If you can't even get that one piece of stuff per week, though, you've overpromised and underdelivered, and that's a really bad place to go. So if you're going to make grand statements about challenges and grand statements about content, grand statements about new products and new ideas and events and all these kind of things, then you've also got to be delivering on those things, because if you don't, you show up as someone who cannot be trusted, and that's not what you want. If you want people to trust your brand, you want to build that trust with your audience, if you make a promise, make sure you deliver on that promise. Otherwise, you're that person, and nobody wants to be that person. It also means keeping the quality and product consistent. Kylie Jenner had this problem when she released a brush set for a makeup palette, and it was rubbish. The brush fell apart too quickly. The colors weren't quite what they were advertised to be, and she got slammed for it. Now she's still very popular, and she's still very rich, and still making tons and tons of money out of her Kylie range of products. But a lot of people never went back. They got that one bad experience and never went back to it. And fundamentally, she lost a couple of 100,000 customers because, and that's what I mean, a couple of 100,000, that's a lot of customers. She lost them all because she didn't deliver a consistent product that matched her image and her promise. And of course, people will turn away and never come back again. So if you deliver one good piece of content, make the next one just as good, or if not better. If you deliver a certain style of video, keep producing that style of video so people can understand and trust you because you are consistent. Work your testimonials and your recommendations into your content and properties. This helps people to trust you because it's not your word, it's someone else's. It's a customer just like them, a real person just like them, who is able to express how you helped them out. That's a powerful message to do. So if you include that stuff into your content and into your social media properties and into your website, please do, because it does create trust. Another way to create trust is to work on what case studies are. Now, a case study doesn't have to be a real world scenario. It doesn't have to be something you did with a real customer. It doesn't have to be necessarily something you've done with someone in real life. What it can be is the idea of something you can do. So a case study could be, say, for instance, if you are a lifestyle coach that helps people to get fit, to get their mindset together, you can have a case study of this woman is 36 years old. She's put on about 20 kilos in the last 5 years, and she's very sedentary, hasn't exercised in that whole time. But once upon a time, she was an athlete and very, very fit. Thankfully, she has a thing called muscle memory, and we're able to tap into that. So if we're able to tap into that, we're able to introduce the foods that support that, an exercise regime that actually builds her up steadily, and she'll find she gets really quick results because she's done some work in her childhood that's carrying over to now. Now, that may not be a real person, but it's an example of the kind of thing you do with a kind of customer that might be kind of like the customer you're trying to talk to now. So if you're able to do that, you're speaking to someone's world with an example that speaks to their scenario, their situation. If you haven't worked with someone like that before, then give an example of how you would work with someone like that in the future. It shows you've thought it through enough and that you've got the chops and the credentials to be able to work with that person's type. Even if you haven't worked with them before, you've thought it through, and you know that what you do as your routine or your modality or the way that you work will work with that kind of person as well. And thankfully, there's a lot of different kinds of people you can work case studies around. And if you can write a case study that suits a particular person who's reading your comment, they will trust you because they know you've thought about someone just like them. And often that connection of being someone just like them is going to make them feel like they can know you, like you, and trust you all in one step. That could be an almost instant sale. I would say this because a lot of people are doing this on social media. Be inspired what the best people are doing, but don't steal their stuff. So be inspired by what Brené Brown is saying, but don't steal her ideas. Be inspired by what Simon Sinek says and the way he communicates and these riddles of language. I can't stand the guy, but he's got a way of communicating that some people really, really connect with. They really feel like they understand it and it's written just for them. So those kind of things, don't take the post and make it yours. Make it something that's like it. Be inspired by the way that Simon Sinek writes. Be inspired by the ideas that Brene Brown's talking about. Be inspired by what John Maxwell has said in one of his books about leadership. And then take that idea, twist it into your world, into your words, into your way of expressing it, and it becomes something you're inspired by. And then, even more clever, show who you're inspired by. Say, if I was inspired by Justin Matthews from the Omaha, Nebraska, and because he said this thing once upon a time in a tweet on Twitter, you're actually saying, yeah, I've thought about this in depth, and this person really inspired me, and I'm sharing that with you as a story, which is much nicer than you just going out and saying, I am so wise, here's my wisdom, when you're used to someone who they're used to seeing taking photos of their drunk friends on a weekend. It doesn't fit. It's a cognitive dissonance. Throat's getting dry in this air conditioning, I'll tell you that. It's certainly nice and cool in my office right now at home. I hope you're doing well in this time too, and you're either working from home or working from the office and staying safe. I know it's really weird times. I was hoping to get back in the office by now. It looks like back in the working from home. Thankfully, I've got everything I need here. So how to build trust with your audience continues by you not using strange words and arrogant language and jargon and corporatese. I'm going to touch base with you. Oh, it's just around the corner and up there that we're going to be, getting the right outcomes for your business. Don't talk like a business person, talk like a human being. If you're going to communicate with people, if they're going to trust you, you need to be able to talk the language they're talking. They need to be able to understand what you're saying so they can then trust what you're doing. You're not going to baffle people with bull dust. If you're trying to fool it, just have a conversation with big words that don't mean anything to anybody, but they mean a lot to you, and you think you're going to baffle them into somehow buying, you're going to lose them. They're not going to trust you because they can't understand a word you're saying, particularly in a multicultural society like ours. Try to keep the words simple, not because they're dumb, but try and keep the words to something that, say, a seventh grader, someone in year 7 can be able to understand. So you can understand like what a 12 or 13-year-old basically would be able to understand and be able to comprehend. That's how you speak. That's how you communicate with people in business of any background or any persuasion. As long as you can do things simply, knowing they understand, they know what they're getting, they know what they can expect, they know what their guarantees are, then they will trust you more because you've made it simple and easy for them to trust you. You haven't made it difficult for them to understand. Apologizing when you really should. I made a big public apology when I failed for a particular client some while ago, and I put it on Facebook and said, this particular client did everything they could that was right, and we stuffed up. And I just want to own that and let people know I do. And that's one of the most reactive posts I ever had. It was one of the most, people saying, man, we all make mistakes sometimes. I'm really glad you owned up to that. And the client came back and said, mate, you know what? Thank you so much for that. Like, I'm not going to use your company to do this, obviously, because you messed up. But thank you for admitting it, because that's so very rare that someone in business will do that. By saying sorry when you really should say sorry, it opens up that vulnerability. Vulnerability means someone can get to know you and like you. And even though in the case of that particular client, they didn't work with me anymore, they've still got the website I built for them, mind you, but they don't work with me anymore, but we're still friends, can shake hands at a meeting, know each other well, and are nice to each other. And they've got a damn good website out of me as well. Even though I didn't really get some of the points that they really wanted to get to right at the end, they've still got the website. They still love the website. They still use the website. Happy days. They still recommend people to me. Another way to build trust with your audience is allow a little space. It's like a little kid just pulling at your apron going, hey, I want attention, I want attention, I want attention, I want attention. Give people a chance to think about the offer. Give people a chance to think about what it is you do and to comprehend and process what you've just said, particularly if there's something technical about what you do, particularly if it's something very difficult to work through, or particularly if it's very expensive. They're not just going to say, yep, sign the dotted line right now because I'm going to sell you this $37,000 car. And you go, oh, I just came in to do a test drive. I didn't come in to buy it yet. I've still got to organize finance. Oh, we can do the finance for it. Leave them alone. Step back. Let them think. Let them breathe. And they'll come back to you if they want it. And you sell something to someone they don't want and they're not ready to buy, and they just do it because you pressured it, they're going to become a problem down the track for your company, for you, and your reputation will be shot. They will tell everybody that I bought this stupid car because I was pressured into it. I'm an idiot. But more than that, this guy sold it me as an absolute D-head, an absolute a-hole. He's just, yeah, your name's going to be dirt. No one's ever going to trust you because that word will get around, especially in the time of social media, where there's so many places where people can talk about these things. You don't want to be that guy that everyone's talking about that can't be trusted because you were too pushy. And of course, offering some kind of guarantees or warranties can be very helpful in assuring someone with something concrete like that, something that's written in stone that says, this is our guarantee, this is our warranty. That builds trust because it builds reassurance. When someone's reassured that you are the right person to deal with because you've offered the right guarantees in place, then amen, they're going to be the person that's trusted. So how do you make fans out of your customers then? So we've talked all about the knowing, the liking, the trusting, but how do they then become fans who are going to tell people about who you are? What turns customers into fans? Under promising and over delivering. That's a really simple one. When you consistently promise something and you deliver more than that, people go, holy crap, this person said they were going to deliver this thing. They gave me an extra one. Or this person said they were going to deliver this project. They delivered it 2 weeks earlier than possible. That's a great thing to be known for. When you under promise and over deliver, people will become fans of you and shout your name from the rooftops. When you make processes simple, when the process to deal with you is as simple as going from A to B, rather than go all over the place before, being passed around to accounts and passed around to admin and passed around to the vice president in charge of mobile phones in another state. When it's hard to deal with you, people are not going to become a fan of you. This is why people hate Telstra, because it's so hard to deal with them, because communication between one department and another is so poor. When you deal with a company that, I'm talking about Aussie Broadband, I use them for internet and they are amazing. The other one I've got here is Mate. Both of them, amazing, easy to deal with. Australian call centers, they deal with a problem. Most of the time it gets fixed right there on that first call. And when it does need to be passed to someone else, you've got an email that comes through to you say, this is who it's with, this is who it's going to, this is when you should hear from them. That is amazing service. So if you can do that, people become fans. I'm a fan of Aussie Broadband because of that. I've had 3 outages in the last 6 months from them, but because of the way they treat you and the way that they actually handle those things, I'm a massive fan and will always tell someone to use them, even if I've had those 3 outages, which are mostly due to things that are not in the control of Aussie Broadband at all. It's to do with, the backlogs and the back lines and the fiber optic connections that are owned by other people. It doesn't matter to me. The fact that they preemptively communicated with me, I thought it would go on out, and all of a sudden I received a message on my phone saying, hey, we're having a bit of an outage in your area at the moment. I was like, geez, that's good. That's good. And they're working out. Oh, working out. We expect it to be fixed in the next hour. Great. And it was fixed in 20 minutes, not an hour. That's under promising and over delivering, making things easy for people. Being able to make it easy for people to share as well really helps. And also giving room for people to be able to easily share their successes and also easily communicate things like recommendations and reviews. When you make it easy for people to do those things, they're much more likely to do them. In fact, send them an email, reach out to them every so often and say, hey, how are you going? You've been a customer of ours for 8 months now. Thought we'd reach out and say good day. Anything we can do for you? If not, hey, keep going along your way, keep calm and carry on. Another way is to thank people. Just reach out and thank a customer. Thanks for being our customer for the last year. We don't necessarily need to give you anything for that, but we're saying thank you because we just recognize this is your 1 year anniversary and we love having you on board. That sort of thing can help people feel much better about dealing with you and staying with you. Considering a lot of contracts last 12, 18 or 24 months, then reaching out every year to someone to let them know that you really appreciate their custom, that's a great idea. Something really good to do. Invite people into private clubs. Invite people into private Facebook groups. They love that kind of thing. It makes them feel special. And occasionally surprise people. Surprise someone with something so different that they wouldn't expect it. A gift in the mail. I get it from Facebook as a big customer of theirs. I get these occasional little gifts and I'm always surprised and delighted by them. And it helps me think good things about them because they do surprise me. So before we go, to get known, you have to get out there. Be generous, be nice, and be helpful because those are the kind of people who are liked. Deliver on the promise that you made and be consistent in your delivery. And then go above and beyond to be something more. And if you'd like to work with this on a guide with your business, you want to get out there with a guide, learn how to promote yourself, get known, get found, and stay known, you can do this through this program. 3 hours of one-to-one advice, 3 1-hour sessions with me or any one of the advisors on this program. $44, and then unlimited access to our workshops and webinars. businessstation.com.au is where you do it. Or you can just reach out to me and I can help you through the process through my email address on screen, through LinkedIn, through Facebook, through Instagram. I'm very, very active on all of them. I'd love to have a chat with you about it to help you through what might be what works best for you. I'd like to thank you for joining me this afternoon, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're live on Zoom, because taking time out of your business helps you to grow your business. And I know taking an hour out of your day is a big commitment. So thank you for spending it with me. And I hope to see you again on the next video.